Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Elsie Addington, who is here on behalf of United to give us a finance report, but not just any old finance report.
No. It's a special finance report just for you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this week I want to talk a little bit about some issues regarding United Mutual Board and its involvement with our finances in the village, or in the mutual in the village. Every so often we get comments about our mutual's finances and its money management. Most of the financial heavy lifting is performed by the VMS finance department, but many aspects of finance oversight is the United Board's responsibility. Perhaps it is not too apparent because it occurs behind the scenes, but we really work hard at it. I want to emphasize that this board takes its fiduciary responsibilities very seriously. 2 directors sign off on every check written on the reserves. 2 directors reconcile the checks from operating funds, and 3 directors sign off on resale packages, all on an ongoing and timely basis. So that's like 6 directors directly involved with this stuff. They rotate and vary, but it's still. And there is a review made on subleasing and transfer of trust documents every month. So that's even more.
Yeah, a lot of eyeballs.
So a lot of eyeballs. But wait, Lisa, we've done more. We've even done more, okay? United now has separate accounts for our reserve account and operating expenses, so we directors can more closely watch the expenditures. Before 2021, the reserves were accounted for separately on the books, but all the money was actually in one account. This made it easier to occasionally, and with board approval always, transfer funds on the books, just on the books, to cover shortfalls in the operating fund balance. These occasional transfers were then paid back to the reserves from the operating fund. The loans usually, and there's air quotes around loans, the loans usually were for real estate taxes, which are due twice a year, and for which we pay about $12 million, because not the $12 million, but the reason they're due twice a year is because the county is on a different fiscal year than the village is. I used to do the same thing when I was paying my own real estate taxes by transferring money from my savings account to my checking account, then paying myself back from subsequent paychecks. I'll bet you've done that sometimes yourself, haven't you, Lisa?
I just did it the other day.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, sometimes we're a little light, but we know we can pay ourselves back, and so that's what we do.
Right.
And that's just how it goes with cash flow. Well, now we can't do that anymore because United decided it was time to get in strict compliance with the Davis-Sterling Act and to have 2 physically separate accounts, one for operating and one for reserves. Now, again, with the board's direction, the tax money, the real estate tax money shortfall is actually transferred from the reserve account to the operating account. Like, well, as real as money is, you do it on the computer and it says you have less money in your reserves than it has in than you did a minute before, but it's all just computers. It's not like cash in buckets, but the money is moved, transferred from the reserve account to the operating account, and the money is moved back after a few more paybacks, in which this case is money from subsequent assessments. So as opposed to your paychecks, okay? So it's money from subsequent assessments. So there is not and never has been any willy-nilly borrowing from reserves by the board or by VMS, as rumor would have it, but merely shifting money between accounts a couple times a year and then replaced within a few months. And that's just like very similar to the example I just gave about your savings account and your property taxes or your insurance. Beginning next month, the finance director will be making available for board review the payroll expenditures from the reserve. With that, we will be in full compliance with the Davis-Sterling Act provisions for our reserves. These payments represent we've always reviewed the payroll accounts and seen the money going out in payroll, coming in assessments and going out in payroll. But some of that money, it was divided again on the books. And some of it goes towards operations and some of it goes to reserves. And the payments that we're talking about now represent the payroll that's related to budgeted projects that are payable out of reserves, like fumigation and painting cycles, and what roof replacement, projects, as opposed to everyday operating payroll expenses like grounds maintenance, janitorial, plumbing, etc.
Right.
And this is a good time to say that we have confirmed that we have over $20 million in our reserves, whereas we're only required, I know, huh? Whereas we're required by the Davis-Sterling Act to have only 10.5 million, only 10.5 million. That's probably enough about reserves, right, Lisa?
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. So if you have 10.5 already, why do you have the extra?
Oh, well, that's just the bare minimum that the law requires, and it's based on an algorithm that I'm personally not incredibly familiar with. I mean, I could find out, but the 20 million is just where, and actually that's still not at 100% funding, but that's like where we want to be. We're just at a higher comfort level. Like if something bad happened, instead of only having 10.5 million as a buffer, we have 20 million.
Yeah.
But hopefully all those monies will go for scheduled projects, which is what they're earmarked for. That's why they call them reserves.
Yep.
That's a good question though. I have just a couple more things about United Board's involvement in all things financial. Okay. Each year there was an external audit of the books for the past fiscal year. This year it was done by KPMG, one of the major auditing firms in this country. There were no errors reported, and United had a clean bill of health from the certified auditors.
Fantastic.
And yeah, isn't that great? And our finance department's great, and our oversight is, of course, Sterling. Like Davis-Sterling, get it?
Yeah.
I did not say that. Each month, our finance committee has a thorough review of the finances in the finance committee meeting. The committee welcomes any resident to attend the meetings, which are accessible from the calendar section on the village website, lagunawoodsvillage.com. You probably all know that website, but that's lagunawoodsvillage.com. And there's you click on the meeting, and then it will show the link to the Zoom, and you could actually come to the meeting. You can't be on the committee, but you can watch the committee, and you could ask questions if you have any. So there's no reason why any resident should have any questions about any of this. I mean, there's reasons why they have questions, but there's no reason why they can't get the answers. Yes. So you're welcome to come, anybody. And a great reason to come to these meetings and look at these finance report, which incidentally, these finance reports are also accessible from the website under Documents, United Board, Agendas, Finance Committee. You can see all the minutes from the finance committees historically, at least from 2021. And that's a good place to see where United spends its money. There have been sporadic complaints among some residents who say they pay outrageous assessments and receive nothing for it. Our assessments, Lisa, our assessments pay the water bills. That right there is millions of dollars. Pays the water bill for our units. It pays for our, and that's not true in Third, but it's true in United. So it pays for our water bill. It pays for our garbage pickup. It gets our lawns mowed. It makes repairs to our unit. Not to mention access to our wonderful amenities. So nobody's getting nothing. I mean, even if you don't walk out the door, you're getting a lot. Yeah. We are getting a lot for our assessments. If you have a maintenance problem, you need just dial one number. No searching around for a plumber or an electrician, appliance repair person, or a roofer. No matter where I go on vacation, I know I can call resident services if there's an emergency I just remembered, or somebody calls me, and they'll come and repair the damage. Don't you think that's a pretty sweet deal, Lisa?
I think it is. Yes. One dial and you've got help, and obviously you said the water is included, and that could be a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is, especially in a village this size. And if you divide it up amongst all the people with a shared cost principle, it really isn't that much money to be sustaining a household physically, and they're not food, but everything else for a month. It's fabulous, I think. Finally, while we're speaking about our finances, I would like to bring up one other matter.
Okay.
During United's closed session, the board looks very closely at the delinquency report and actively seeks resolution of every account that is in arrears. For those who are behind in payments, the board is willing to set up new payment schedules and tries to assist in any way it can. We are your board, and we try to be empathetic and compassionate. But United is not a charity, and our main sources of income are the assessments, and all of our assessments need to be paid to benefit and care for every resident in this mutual. And that's who the board has to be loyal to, is not just every single resident, which we are loyal to and we love you, but we have to look at the whole, every single resident as a group, okay?
Right.
So all residents.
Right.
It's not a charity, and our main sources of income are the assessment, and all of our assessments need to be paid to benefit and care for every resident in this mutual. Every effort will continue to be made to collect in a timely fashion. Please keep in that, I'm going to emphasize that. Every effort will continue to be made to collect in a timely fashion. Please keep in mind that uncollected assessments can lead to cuts in services or increased monthly assessments for everybody.
Right.
And just take your pick, cuts in services or increased assessments. And that really, Lisa, is all for today. And I hope that you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much for the report. I appreciate it. And, you always have very thorough information. So thank you.
You're more than welcome, Lisa. Hope to see you again soon.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. And we'll be right back after this.